Alright, guys. Hello, guys. Okay, welcome to this live streaming section. If you're a student, I don't know, considering giving us a thumbs up, like give us a thumbs up. Let's wait for some number of people to join before we continue. Give us a thumbs up if you're seeing us. If you're seeing web graphics, give us a thumbs up. Considering giving us a thumbs up. Oh Jesus. Alright, so let's just get started. Let's just get started. Alright. Everybody welcome. If you're seeing us or if you've been our member already or you're just joining now, you are all welcome. Alright. Let me briefly introduce myself. This is Web Graphics by name, and in our tutorials, or let's say live streaming sessions, we get to teach students what they should know. Everything we're talking about here is students. The best way they should live their lives, the things they should start doing, what they should get in their mind, even while they are trying. Even while they are trying entering the university, what they should start doing, even when they are still in university. So all our tutorials is covering everything that has to do with students' life and future, like it's just student. And the primary objective, or let's say goal, is to make sure that we limit the saying that school is scam and all of those stuff. So that is what we are trying to reduce. Like we are just trying to if possible to eliminate it, because what really causes those stuffs is when the students are not actually doing what they should do while they're still in school, know what they should know, the kind of mindset, have everything they should know, like being well equipped in some certain things and not only certificate. Now when they're out, they are not going to be frustrated, they are not going to be stranded. So by so doing, that saying that school is scam is going to be reduced. So that's not what I'm saying here. I'm just a kind of trying to analyze what our primary objective or goal is to. Alright, so but what we have in today's tutorial or section, live streaming section, alright, what we have today is depending on your certificate is very risky as a student. It sounds somehow, let me repeat. Depending on your certificate is very risky, very risky as a student. The risky rate is very high as a student. I will explain, and I'm going to relate it to many things, like plenty things. So if you're a student right now, you depending on your certificate, you watching me depending on your certificate is very risky. And if you're not seeing the importance, or let's say the necessity of having some things backing you, and you're depending on a certificate, it's going to really affect you. And we all remember our objective is to reduce that saying that school is scam. Now if you're not well equipped in things that I'm about saying here, it's going to really affect your outcome, maybe when you're out from the university. And I'm not hoping to see you joining people that are saying school is scam. I'm not hoping to see that. So that's the essence of our topics and like finish sessions that we are holding. Alright, so let me say this in case of people that just joined. I said today's live streaming section topic is students. If they are depending, like students depending on your certificate alone is very risky. You can pen it down. Like as a student, you don't need to depend on your certificate alone. Like, get my point. I did not say did not depend on your certificate. Like depending it alone, actually some in some areas or sometime your certificate can actually save you out. First, that's why you're obtaining it. You get. So that's why you're obtaining it. If it's not a good, or like if it's not going to save in the future, obtaining it or whatever is of no use. So actually you're going to earn a very good certificate. That's cool. But I'm trying to say here, depending on it alone is very risky. And I'm going to be explaining, and I'm going to try analyzing it, and you listening to me, you're going to see or my path, like where I'm actually coming from. All right, so you're still on the on topic of students depending on certificates is very risky. Now, if we were to brief it down, at first, let's say what is certificate and why, like, why can't students depend on it? Okay, at first we can say certificate is a kind of a degree, or let's say a reward. Let's just say it's a reward because you schooling, you wasting your time, resources and money studying, the university is actually going to be rewarding you with a certificate at the end of the year, like the duration that you study depending on your course of study. So the school is going to be rewarding you with a certificate, and this certificate now is just like your reward for the year, and it depends on you, your performance, like is being or justified, or like is being rated by your performance. Now if you perform poorly, it's going to show on your certificate. If you perform or handsomely, it's going to as well show in your certificate. So it's a kind of what you actually worked for. Sometimes it's based on merit, a kind of that you're going to be meriting it first class, second class, third class, depending, is based on merit. So this is certificate, you're trying to analyze it, you're coming up from certificate. Now firstly I said certificate, I'm trying to a kind of bring it down and how one can actually obtain. Yes, so I'm just a kind of coming I'm coming serially, just follow my stuff. Okay, I said is a kind of reward. Mostly at times it's merit, like you merit it by your efficient or time, putting your time, energy, studying and writing your exam. So and you're actually getting good result. Now when this certificate is issued to you at the end of the let's say the years like you spend in school, be for 4 years, 5 years or so. Now this certificate at first, like you gaining a very good certificate, is literally assumed that you're becoming a successful person, the kind of that. But I don't know what our world is turning into, but I'm just bringing it how it looks natural normally, or let's say previously, like it's just how it looks, not minding the current situation of the country. But this is what it should looks like when you come out with a very good certificate. It's assumed that you automatically is heading to or becoming a successful person. That is it. Now remind you, this certificate you were rewarded, like is based on sometimes merit, I don't know, but let me just assume is you merit it by your studies. Now you're being rewarded with a certificate, and you're a kind of, okay, let's say you obtain your certificate and you just clear everything is and you're out. Let's say you are, let's just say that you studied, okay, let me use accounting, this works well. Now you're assuming that you studied an accounting, you're a student an accountant, okay, and you carried your first class degree. Now you're actually looking for a job. Let me just say you're actually looking for a job, and you were opportune to be employed. Your opportunity to be remind you, okay, let's say this student that has this first class certificate, you are assuming that a student has a first class certificate and is moving out with it with from the university and very much happy he or she made the first class certificate. Now you are looking for a job, and any company that sees first class is going to be, oh wow, this is a very good student, you're going to be employed. And most times, mind you, like have it synced to your knowledge, the topic is depending on certificate alone is very risky. Now I'm coming on the angle of certificate, and I'm going to relate it why it's very risky and why should students, like should a kind of having should start having a kind of plan B, like towards their life. Is not is not now okay for a normal student, like to depend on your certificate alone. You get it now. I'm not saying to depend on it doesn't work, but alone is a very risky uh act. Okay, so I'm going to be explaining that. As I said, the students that made the first class, like let's assume that the student was not opportune to learn any skill, like he just reading, then got a first class and he's out or she's out. That now he went for to apply for a job. They have seen his or her certificate. Wow, this is awesome. You made the first class. Now they are accessing. Do you know, you making, as I said earlier, you making or coming out or out with a very good certificate doesn't guarantee you some in some certain things. Do you get it now? So it's not you're not saying that you should not work out towards making a good certificate as well. You are to a kind of work hard towards other direction. Other direction I mean here is self competence, like everything, confidence, building yourself, or this thing, I don't know, like you're going to be a kind of complete in all areas. Okay, let's just assume that you made the first class and you happen to go for an interview and they are to assess you, and unfortunate for you, you don't have a kind of speaking ability, a kind of that, you don't have confidence, or you fail some unnecessary some certain, let's say, test, because nowadays interviews are not only by what you study. Now there are several things that you're going to be interviewed about. Employers, or let's say the owners of some organizations, they are not relating some things to the interview. So you're not going for an interview and you're having in mind they are going to be asking me what I studied. That's a wrong or motive, or let's say wrong thinking towards that. So because it's going to be kind of randomly, some managers or some owners of companies are trying to assess you. It's called assessing. Regardless of that your first class, you're not going to just be employed. You're not going to just be employed. You're actually going to be assessed. Now the assessing is what gives that your first class or second class the room, like it's what makes it complete. Now just imagine when you made the first class, you cannot speak well, like you cannot address, you cannot like some mental or some, what's it called, some psychological, I don't know, so a kind of psychological test, you cannot pass it. Like you're thinking, like you're not developed on that area, so it's not going to be coming out well. In regards to that, or your first class second class, is still, you're going to be a kind of ignored, like it's going to is a kind of no, you're going to be declined to that. Do you get it? So the emphasis of having a plan B, or developing some of your self area or side is not, it cannot be overemphasized, because students are being faced with a lot, like they are being faced with a lot. So and the world is unpredictable, that you will not just predict, and you will not just base on one thing, because things can turn around tomorrow, and there is a lot of changes, a lot of things can cause a lot of changes. So when you're not strong, when you're not built like all round, it affects students. So that's what you're saying, and we are as well bringing it, sorry, network. All right, so and we as well bringing it to when it comes to students being competent, or students being well equipped in some certain things, in some certain skills, in some things about them. It's just more like self development. So these are things that is going to be guaranteeing, like that is going to be powering that your certificate. Now imagine that you are an employee, that you made your first class, and as well you have a kind of some abilities, or let's say some skills attached to it. Now some skills attaching to it is going to make that your certificate, or your placement, like where you're going to be placed as a student, like as an employee, because you actually you was then a student when you graduated, and actually you're still going to be referred as a student. Now the possibility of you being placed in a better place, it depends on your certificate. That's number one, and your ability. Do you get it now? On your ability to solve some certain problems, solve some certain things, do some certain jobs. Do you get it now? So it's not only on your certificate. And if you're able to pass all these tests, and you're able to get to solve some problems, because nowadays it's very painful and very disheartening to or to tell some young of students or to tell some young uh, outdog that organizations now, they are not only employing on your certificate, like they are checking of some. Oh god, sorry guys, Jesus, my network is very very bad. I don't know, let me just continue. Okay, so what I was saying in essence is your skill and you being able to be your competency, it was place you, or let's say it was gives you room to a better uh organization or a better place to work. Because nowadays and now on time that most organizations, they are not longer looking at your certificate or your what you merited in school. Now their most of their interest and goal is to know the kind of problem you can solve, what you coming into their organization and industry can benefit, like the benefits that you're going to be giving them more than yours. So having this thing, like this knowledge being inculcated to students, will help them to know what the world, or let's say the angle the world is turning into and where it's actually going, and helping them to actually align so that they won't be stranded when they are out from school tomorrow, or let's say they won't be stranded when they like, I don't just know, but when they are facing the, let's say they are facing the pressure, or let's just say anything that like that's going to be affecting them, and let them not start saying school is scam. That's just where emphasis is going. And this depending on certificate alone has some negative effects, or let's say it has the backside, because students like trusting, or let's say depending on your certificate alone has some negative effects. Now I think I have up to five negative effects that I pen down. Let's just quickly look at them. All right, so the first negative effect is, sorry guys, is going to restrict you, or let's say constrain you from being self-developed. I'll show light on that. I'm going to explain. Is going to restrict you from being self-developed. Now, self-developed, I mean in this content, is when you're not a kind of being involved in some certain things, like when you fail to engage yourself in some certain things while you were still in school. It's just like self-development, as I said. Now, look at it plainly. A student that depends only on certificate while you were still in school, and you're just depending on certificate, my certificate is going to give me everything, life is going to figure itself out once I'm out from university. This is a wrong motive, this is a wrong mindset for some, this is a wrong mindset for students. Because the truth about life is not everybody is going to be opportune to be employed. Not everybody is going to be opportune to work in a better organization or company. Not everybody is going to be opportune to be a kind of I don't know. But it's not, life can fluctuate. Like it's not always ending as planned sometimes. So that is when and why you should or bring in this thing, like this part, or let's say you involving yourself in some certain things. Now, self-development I mean here is, now if you're to ask what is self-development, self-development is just a kind of simple something. You being self-developed, like it can be mentally, it can be psychologically, it can be any round, like it can be all round, but it's going to be self. Now, the ability of you learning a skill that can pay in the future is a self-development, like you're developing yourself to or possess that ability. All right, the ability of you being able to sing well and sing for maybe events can still pay you, like is a self-development, because you're going to be you're going to work on yourself towards that area, and you're actually going to develop that skill or that ability. Do you get it now? So anything that you can do, like that like you can actually learn and emulate, or let's just say that thing now becomes part of you, is a kind of self-development process, because it's going to be taking a kind of right for you to actually get that. Then you're going to It's going to be part of you. That is a self-development process. Now, you facing, or let's say you not having the mindset of anything can happen, and you're focusing on certificate alone, you're not going to be seeing the necessity, like you're not going to be seeing, or let's say thinking that is important for you to be self-developed. And mind you, even with that certificate, when you're out there, you're not going to be able, or having the ability to do some certain things, some certain tests, or pass some certain interviews, because it's not only depending on your certificate. You're going to be able to possess some certain skills, some certain like some certain abilities. So this are what students need to know why they are chasing the certificates. They ought to build some, or a kind of bridge, or let's say structures around them that can power their certificate as well. That is it. And self-development is very important for a student, because it's not only your mentals, like you're going to be developing in some areas. Like being self-developed is a very good thing. Like when students sees it as a necessary something, like being self-developed, it's going to, one is going to, it's going to help them in their job. Like even when they are employed in any organization, being self-developed, even how they handle issues, being self-developed as a student, as an adult, can actually help you in some certain things. Even how you think, how you see situations, how you handle pressures, how you handle issues, how you communicate or relate to people, how you understand things. It has many things, benefits for you, because you're developed. Like you're not just seeing things the way they appears to be, like you're seeing it from another direction, and from another developed mind. Do you get it now? So these are things, self-developed, or not involving, or let's say uh focusing on certificate alone, can make a student not to be self-developed. And this really affects students, and it really affects student outcome and becoming. Alright, so they are to be developed, not only academically, mentally, psychologically, all round of their life. Alright, so let's look at the second consequences of not of okay second consequences of trusting, or let's say depending on your certificate alone. So what we have here is, alright guys, so the second consequences of students depending on their certificate alone is going to restrict them, or constrain them from having a plan B. Now, do you know what is called plan B? Let me just brief it. Plan B is a kind of second option, what you have in support, like your second stuff. Do you get it? Like what you have in second. I don't know how to analyze here, but you should understand. Like a plan B, like you can say if this one doesn't work, this one will work. Do you get it now? It's called plan B, like a second option. That is it. Like you can see plan B is the second option that backs up something, that make, maybe if the first option doesn't work, or let's say the first plan doesn't work, you can kind of bring in plan B in the matter, in the contents. Okay, so plan B is more like a second option. Do you get it now? Now, the primary assignment, or let's say the primary motive or objective of every student is to reach, make a very good results. And the plan B I mean in this content is being, like, okay, the plan B I mean in this content is, apart from having the mindset and hoping to pass well, apart from it, apart from depending on that alone, the plan B I have here is having some certain plans, like having some relevant backups, having some structured plan put in ground already for your future, like for your outside life. Now, this can serve as a plan B, because is a kind of backing it up. That's not what you're bringing first. Your first priority is to make a very good certificate. Now, the plan B can be seen as those online skills, maybe that you opportunity to learn, those handmade skills, like anything that can still fetch you money apart from you being employed. It can be seen as a plan B, because you're adding it up to yourself. Is Most of them are inbuilt. You're going to be carrying it alongside with you. and most of them are still going to help you in that particular job they're going to get, maybe through your employment or whatever. So that plan B actually serve as a kind of pillar, or let's say supporter, to that first objective, or let's say first plan. So doing this now is going to help you in having a plan B. And any student that's focused more on certificate is going to be seeing this having a plan B not really like it's going to be seeing it as not important. Do you get it now? They are going to be seeing it as like me, like just get the angle I'm coming from. Like every student, well, let's say any student that is focused on only on plan B is not going to be seeing the reason, or let's say the necessity of, or a kind of having a plan B. Any student that is depending on certificate is not going to be seeing the necessity the way you're seeing it as having a option, second option. How important having a second option can be. They're not going to be seeing the reason no matter what, because they are depending on their certificate and they are feeling that's all, but that's not actually so, or like that's not actually also. These students, like students are to be informed, or let's say they are to be inculcated with this knowledge, this primary knowledge. It's called primary because these are things they should know by now, even while they are still in school, even when they are planning to, even the people that are out already, they should start emulating, like they should start being inculcated with this primary knowledge about life and what it can actually serve to person. Okay, so let's look at the third consequences of every student, or let's say any student that is dependent on certificate alone. So what we have or third is unemployment. I'm going to break it down. Now, you can say, or you can see this as, this is not among, but it's actually among unemployment. Now, if you're a student that gets employed with a very awesome result, your result is awesome, actually awesome, and you're not competent, you don't have a solving skill problem, you cannot create value, you cannot solve a problem, you cannot, or you kind of do some certain things under that employment or issued, or let's say on that area that you're being employed, you cannot create an idea. You cannot just invent something like Jesus, like it's not going to be working well, it's not going to be going well with that you and your organization, or you, or with your employer or whatever. So it's not going to be actually going well with that, because them employing you is not only based on your certificate, it's just based on the value that you're creating, the value that you're going to bring into the organization, the value that you're willing and able to offer at a particular time. So that's actually the reason, or let's say the aim why they employed you. Now you not being able to actually do all of those things is going to bring regret, or let's say resignation, like you're actually going to be resigning, they are going to fire you. That's unemployment. Or let's say unemployment on this continent is when you're with your certificate, very good one, and you happen to go to any place, maybe an organization where workers are needed, and you guys are to like to undergo some certain tests, and that test has to do with mental thinking. Now you not being equipped in that area, you only focus on your certificate, is not going to actually be okay well. Or let's say it requires some certain skill that, maybe from that skill, that's what, or like let's say from that skill, that's what fished out the most qualified candidates. Or let's say, okay, just like in a bank, maybe you applied for a job and you're to like to perform a very primary test, maybe with computer. So now when you don't have that knowledge, when you're not computer literate, you're not going to actually pass that test. And it can make, or like it can bring unemployment, because that company may not hire you because they are not seeing what you are going to be offering. You're just with a very big certificate but no value attached to it. Do you see it now? So they are, you depending on your certificate you as a student is very risky. That's why I said it's very, very risky. Alone it's very risky. So it's there is a lot of emphasis to for students to start attaching things, start attaching knowledge, start attaching skills, start attaching or everything that relates to growth to their self, to their certificates. Do you get it now? So that even if things fluctuate during future time, or let's say in nearest years to come, like they can still fit in well, like they can still stand their ground and they will not be frustrated. That's just it. Get it now? So them having a very good knowledge of this will help students start putting their stuff right, like start aligning their self in some ways and or areas. Alright guys, so the fourth consequences of every student or any student depending on certificate alone, that is what we are in now. All right. Not okay. Not being competent. We say that not being competent is going to make them they'll start seeing they'll start thinking, or let's say start feeling that it's not necessary for students, or it's not necessary for them to learn skills. It's not necessary for them to start working on other side or other areas to develop their self, because they are hoping and they are feeling that the certificate alone can give them what they want. They are hoping and they are seeing the certificate as what really matters. Do you get it now? So that takes us to the fifth consequences of every student. These are consequences and it's not actually ending well. The consequences of any student, every student, depending on certificate alone, it can be a kind of it can okay now is okay. What we have here is it's going to be giving room to say that school is a scam. Now let's say our primary objective goal is to limit, reduce, eliminate, destroy, cast down, or let's say break the saying that school is a scam. Now this, if a student is not be like if a student doesn't see the reasons of doing all of these things, having a plan B, or learning some certain skills, or developing their self beyond their certificate, they are actually going to be ending on this saying. Most of them is going to be ending on this saying. That's just truth about life. The truth about life is everybody is not going to be employed. Even when everybody is employed, most of them doesn't, or like they don't have the staying power, like they are not going to be, most of them is not going to be able to solve, or let's say do their task more in a more efficient and appropriate way, because they lack some certain skills that will help them do that right. Do you get it now? So them not being equipped in all this and hoping on their certificate alone will lead to the saying that school is scam even more. And the one that annoys me most, or let's say the ones that annoys people most, is the people that are saying this are graduates. Like if it's in a condition whereby is only literate illiterate are saying this, it is a kind of fair. But when graduates, current graduates are saying school is calm, is not giving hope to the upcomings, like it's not giving hope to the young ones. It's already corrupting their mind, it's already shifting their gaze and their motive to further, like it's already weakening their spirits to strive more. Do you get it now? So this saying really affects a lot, has a lot damage than the way people are even seeing it, because what they said is a kind of something that a kind of that pierces somebody's mind, or a kind of that, when you say something it pierces and enters into someone's mind, or thinking. Now when the person see that and think over it, now it can actually affect the person when it is a negative or word. So school, they are saying is a scam, has limited some students being or being had limited some students in the area of forgery. They have it has limited some students not being it has cut some students interest in forgery their education. Do you get it now? So we are like we want to bring that a stop to that by inculcating students with the primary knowledge they need to know, things they need to start doing, how they should start planning, steps they should start taking. Now, as I said earlier, every student, what we have in fifth is every student, depending on certificate alone, is going to lead more, is going to fire up, is going to give power to the saying that school is a scam even more. Now, it's going to do that, as I said, in the area of when a student, let's just assume that a student graduated and 2 3 years, a student graduated with a good result, and 2 3 years the student have not been able to or been employed in any organization, maybe for some certain reasons, maybe some for some, maybe the fail in test, or let's say not being able to, or a kind of pass some certain tests apart from maybe our psychological or whatever, or let's say that not being able to possess some ability, or let's say some necessary skills that can actually power up the employment. Now, when they are being faced with these kind of things, it can actually bring that saying up, like it's going to be powering that saying that school is a scam up. Do you get it now? So when they don't possess some skill, ability that helps them or that sustain them on that particular job or on that particular work, is going to bring them down, and they are going to start saying that school is a scam, school is a scam. Now, meanwhile, school is not actually a scam. It's not actually a scam in the sense of when students start at first know what they need to know, secondly do what they need to do, thirdly align themselves in the right way, in the right direction, they should start aligning themselves, and having a particular, there is this mindset that student needs to have, like the mindset of like things can change. These are things like students have not been a kind of being equipped in this area, because this is life and things can really fluctuate, like things are not a kind of stable at every particular time. The more days are going, technologies are taking over, and most at times if students, or let's just say employees, like when they are out from school, that's when that's what I mean by employee, if they are not up to some standard, if they don't possess some ability to or to offer to an organization, they are not going to be employed. That is the fact, they are not going to be, they don't have any room for employment, and this brings unemployment, and this brings fail in one's career or future, and they are going to be seeing it as is a scam, they wasted their years and time, it doesn't profit them. Do you get it now? So these are actually ways it can bring up the saying that school is a scam. These are possible ways when they fail to know what they need to know, when they fail to align, when they fail to start doing things rightly, when they still fail to emulate some certain attitude or character, when they fail to start involving themselves in some relevant things, that brings up the saying. So we or we are here to set against that and actually make students understand and start taking things the right way. So we concluded by okay, it gives room for them, like it gives room for that saying that school is a scam, it gives room to that. So we say that it gives room to that by okay, by them being the graduates, like by them being the or the people that even obtained some degrees. Now they are the ones that are going to be saying this, and this really pays, like it doesn't come out well, like it doesn't end well. Just imagine, okay, let's just assume in a family that they have, okay, let's say 3 children, in a family that they have 3 children, and the first, okay, let's say the first of born senior or the rest with a kind of 7 years. Let me just use that, this is an illustration, you get where I'm coming from. The firstborn senior or the rest with 7 years. Now the firstborn be able to was able to finish up and maybe obtain or go to higher institution and all of that. And this firstborn Remember the other ones, maybe secondary school, primary school, they are still little. Now this firstborn failed to know what he or she needs to know while he or she is in school, fail to start involving like he or she in, like fail to start involving in some certain things, fail to obtain some certain skills and ability, fail to maybe see life the way it is, fail to understand some certain things about life. Now when such person gets out from the university and it happens that life hits him hard, in the sense of maybe he was not able to get work some number of days or less months or years, or let's say he was not able to fix his bills, like this now gives him room to start saying school is scam. Now what do you think that would be like, what do you think that the junior ones, or let's say the more little ones, to start thinking? They're going to start seeing this school thing as, oh bro, this thing is not working, like it's not, it doesn't worth it. They are going to be they are going to start seeing it as a wastage of maybe time, resources, and money. Like that's just how it's going to appear to them, because the person that was opportune to go is not actually be like is not actually in a better condition, or let us say better situation, is not actually it also end with the person. Now meanwhile the person fail, the student fail to know what he or she needs to know, put some or structures he or she needs to lay while he or she is still in school, learn some certain skills maybe that can back him up for some months or years, or for some a number of years he or she may be a kind of self maybe unemployed, or not being able to be employed. Sorry guys for the obstruction. Now this skill is what is going to be sustaining, it's what is going to be giving a kind of backbone, is a kind of backbone, is going to be serving as a backbone support to that your certificate, even when even the process, or let's say the time that you're going to be looking for a job, you're going to be, or is going to actually sustain you. Or alright, so these are possible ways that you can run away from this saying that school is a scam, or you can be that you can conquer this saying that school is a scam by you being able to do some certain things as a student, you being able to get to start up some certain things. Now even as a student you can actually be doing some things, or maybe one of these one of these days I will kind of make mention of some certain skills, no, some certain businesses. We're not going to be talking about skill there, maybe some kind of business that students can actually do, that it will not affect their studying life, that it's not going to be affecting, like it's actually going to balance, like it's going to be balancing with their academy. So that maybe in our life next live streaming session we're going to be doing that. So let me just brief this. Oh, students can actually start up a business, a flexible one at that, that will not obstruct their academies, because school I believe has a calendar, and or students are not a kind of one, or they are not mandated, or let's say being imposed to study from morning till night. I think that's if I'm not wrong. So they have some necessary or some certain times they are going to be free. So I'm going to be mentioning in the next library session some certain business that some students can still do, like that they are actually going to build a kind of a big structure on that, even if they are out they can actually start it up, like let's say broadly, like they can start it up in a big way, or let's say they can just venture into it. So that's for that. So I don't know, I'm seeing some students here, so I don't know if you're a student here, and I don't know, and you're like you're actually getting something, I don't know if you're benefited from this section, like why you don't have to trust, or let's say based on your certificate. I don't know. You can consider giving us a thumbs up. Like, consider giving us a thumbs up. Consider giving us a thumbs up. Consider giving us a thumbs up. I don't know. So, but what I'm saying here is just in essence is that students, if you're a student and you're you're basing on your certificate alone, or you're trusting, you're putting your whole trust on your certificate, it can be a great harm with the necessary things that were mentioned there. Like, you're not here to scare you, you are here to open your eyes. Just like, it's more like an eye opening to students. Do you get it? It's just more like an eye opening. You are here to open your eyes, bro. Like, open your eyes to know what is working, what is actually happening, where the world is going to, the directions, the or you need to start taking things, you will need to start doing. So that's our objective, like that's our motive. So that's just who we need to or pass to, or let's say both young and adult that are out